Connecting together. And I think we're about there. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Dan Mangina and Alyx King. Today is Tuesday, January the 28th, 2020. It is 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy to be doing another daily dose of happy. It's been 10 days. I mean, I've been in withdrawal, guys. I mean, it's just been a tough time for me because I've had to spend all this time in Florida taking photos, putting them on Facebook. I feel completely outside my norm. I must be doing growth or something. I don't know exactly.
Must be doing growth or something.
Fabulous.
But it's been great. It's been really good. And Dan, it's good to have you back. You've been a bit of a world traveler yourself lately. I mean, you've been halfway around the world.
To the other side of the world, doing 27-hour journeys back and forth, which was interesting.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, you got to be young to do that. That's how you know you're still young.
Yeah, although I did look now, I just recently turned another age in December, and I'm in the next tick spot grouping.
So you're now 26 instead of 25.
Yeah. I'm like at the beginning of the checkbox grouping.
Right.
So the checkbox grouping goes like another 9 years above where I am.
Yeah.
I'm in that checkbox group now.
That's always a bit disconcerting when that happens.
That happened to me last birthday.
Yeah. I'm not used to it. The idea that I have to actually admit that I'm a grown up now. I was speaking to my friend actually earlier today, and he's got 2 kids. And he's like, "Yeah, we're grown up, bro." It's like, "Yeah, we're grown ups."
Yeah,
It's
but
funny
you don't have to be though.
Metrically.
Well, the reason I say it's funny is because my brother and I had a similar conversation, not quite the same, but we were both. It was the day we were at Kennedy Space Center. You guys saw the photos from that
On Sunday.
And when we were there, at one point we were waiting for something to happen. I forget what, and we were just chatting. And I said to him, "Do you ever think about the fact that when we were really young, we'd be looking forward to the future and saying, what would it be like for the two of us to be married? And here we are." And he said, yeah. Because
here we are.
It seems strange. I mean, we've both been married for quite some time now, but it's just...
It seems so far off.
Yeah, because you don't really think of your brother, especially when you're young, your brother or your sister being married. You think of them as just, the people you're growing up with.
Right.
And then to find that you're both married is really kind of a shock. It took us a few years to notice, but But seriously, it was a wonderful time, and I have to do a shout out to both my brother Mark and my sister-in-law Iona, who are previous co-hosts of the show, I might add, for giving us a fabulous time because we stayed with them, and Iona did a whole lot of planning. I mean, she figured out most of our vacation schedule, which made things really, really easy. But, we just. It's amazing how much we packed into a relatively short period of time. We did the town. And I do have to say, Orlando is one of the bigger sprawling cities I've ever seen. I didn't expect it to be that big. I mean, I knew it's got, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, all that kind of thing. And so there's going to be a sizable population around. But my God, they're probably the world champions in terms of retail strip malls.
Wow.
I swear to God. They're everywhere. They are literally everywhere. It's just you can't drive 20 miles without seeing a continuous row of strip malls. It's crazy. Well, plus also they're doing so much growing right now that, like my brother termed it, the GPS maps can't keep up with the new construction.
Bro, welcome to Boston.
So literally you're driving down the highway and it says, take the exit here, and there's no exit because it's been bricked off for the next thing that they're putting in. I felt like I was in New England. You can't get there from here. I mean,
facts, man, facts.
No, but seriously, it was great. I loved. You guys also saw the photos of the 2 Harry Potter lands in Universal.
Yes,
and those were great. I mean, they did a great job. Let's just be perfectly blunt. They did a fabulous job. You walk in, first of all, you don't even know that you're walking into Diagon Alley when you walk in, because that's what's supposed to happen, right? It's hidden.
Right.
You know, so you kind of walk in like, oh my God, there it is. And it was really well done. And Hogsmeade, oh my God, Hogsmeade, it looked like a movie set.
Really?
I mean, it was perfect. It was, I spent the entire time. Now we did, between the two of them, of course, they're in two separate places. And then you have the Hogwarts Express between them. So that's how you get back and forth.
Oh, and they generally have the Express.
Whoa, yeah. You get to ride the
Hogwarts Express.
Bro,
yeah.
I'm so jealous right now.
Complete with, when you look out the windows, the windows are videos. So you get to see this whole video presentation while you're taking this 10-minute ride from one campus to the next.
What?
It's great.
Oh,
it's really great. Yeah.
Okay.
Really, really fun.
I kind of need to find out which of my nephews and nieces are Harry Potter fans.
Hi, I'm a Harry Potter fan. We can go.
Yeah, I'm talking about someone I could sponsor and not look like a creep running around with.
I don't care. I'm going in full robe and I'm going to get my wand. Like, I don't really care right now.
Dan, you don't have to worry. She's going to be wearing her unicorn crown. It doesn't make any difference.
No.
You don't go unicorn?
No, I don't want to get eaten. Are you crazy?
But you're a magic unicorn. It's in a magical universe. It's okay.
Yeah, I know. In Harry Potter world, who drinks unicorn blood?
Oh yes.
Hello.
Yeah, I hate to kind of clue you in on this, but in the last book, he got killed.
Yeah, but like the book after, he's still here.
He is.
He is.
He's come back.
No spoilers. No spoilers. But you know.
I need to read.
The Blessed
She's inventing.
Child.
She's inventing book 8.
No. You haven't read The Blessed Child?
No.
It's in play form, so it's like reading a script, but it's awesome. You got to read it, guys.
So does this mean that Harry has to kill Voldemort again?
Well,
I mean, that was was rather traumatic the first time. I mean,
I can't say anything because it's all spoilers. I just can't. It's just.
I'm gonna be texting you after this for spoilers because I don't care.
I'm just gonna say this. The book takes place. Remember at the end of the last movie where it was 20 years later, which is like last year for us apparently.
Yeah.
2019, and it was 20 years later, and their kids were getting on the train. It starts there.
Okay.
So the book is really basically about their children, but like it blossoms. It's really good though.
Well, It looks like I have a new item for my reading list.
Yes.
After Joe Dispenza.
It's quite thick. So
who I was just with in Dubai. That's what I was doing.
Joe Dispenza, really?
I went to Joe Dispenza retreat. That's what I went to do.
Wow.
No kidding.
Look at you.
I was volunteering. So
how do you spell Dispenza?
Dispenza.
That was beautifully done, Dan, I have to say.
Thank you. Wanted to mix it up.
But Joe Dispenza, I have to also make a note about. I was reading one of his older books, You Are the Placebo.
That's the first one I read.
Play fights. Is that what you're reading? Yeah.
No, that's the first one of his books I read.
That's the first one you read. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I read part of it down on the flight down, part of it on the flight back. I still have about another third to go. And interestingly enough, the part that I was reading just before we touched down here in Connecticut on the way back was literally a description of what happened the next day. It was really quite astonishing, right? Because I mean, Dan, you'll remember in the book they talk a lot. He talks a lot about how the physiology works in terms of when we our subconscious minds are replaying old stuff, old tapes, right? And as he describes that, he's talking about what it takes to change that and what happens physiologically when you're changing all that, and that if you don't change it, you can. Since we have associations that are environmentally based, if you go back to an old environment, all the old signals, all the old neurons get refired again. It's just like replaying the tapes instantly, which is exactly what happened when we got back here. I mean, we were in vacation mode. Everything was great. We got back here and it was like the same feeling just before we left.
Yeah.
Because we were back in the old environment again. I'm saying, oh my God, this guy Dispenza is good. I mean, not only does he have something good to say, but he manages to have me read it the day that I get back from vacation.
And he spent years recording, like scientifically recording everything that he's been talking about too. So
yeah, he's with some amazing results that he's been able to produce. But
yeah.
Personally
witnessed people show up to events in wheelchairs and be dancing by the end of it. It's really fascinating to see.
So you actually got to see that? Because I mean,
yeah, I've seen it. I've been to a lot of events over the last 4 years.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he wrote, or no, I guess it was an interview I saw. In the interview I saw, he was describing how early on one of their early workshops / retreats, they tried to teach people how to do all this stuff. And he was the most amazed person in the place when a few people actually got up and said, "I'm cured."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he thought he was just doing it for demonstration purposes. He didn't think it was the real deal, you know. So these people jumping up, and he says, "Oh my God, this stuff really works." So that's cool that you got to see that.
A dear friend of mine used the work and cured herself of cancer with no chemo, no surgery.
So you actually know somebody who did? That's fabulous.
I know a few people that have done some amazing things with this work. So it's been my life as it is. It's been applying that work in order to make the transitions that I have done. And anyway, it's good stuff. Really good stuff.
I'll tell you what. My sister-in-law was one of the reasons we went down, because she just got her doctorate in statistics.
Nice.
But before she settled on statistics, there goes my buddy. Before we settled on statistics, or she settled on statistics as her final discipline, she had been studying neurosciences, neurobiology, and so forth. A lot of the same kind of material that Dispenza and others have covered. And so when she was my co-host on the show here back in years 2 and 3, she told me about a lot of this stuff, and she was sharing a lot about it. And we are actually now in kind of a informal conversation about doing a series of shows on Joe Dispenza books, starting with "You Are the Placebo."
Mm-hmm.
So I throw that out there to say, first of all, do you have any interest in being part of that conversation? And second of all, to just kind of give a little, heads up to the listeners, like, hey, there's something really cool happening.
Well, I'm personal friends with a lot of his team leaders as well, who actually trained, and a couple of his corporate trainers that are trained in his work. So if you want some behind the scenes people who actually are trained personally by Dr. Joe on how to,
that would be fabulous.
I can probably wrangle you some co-hosts on that as well, some guest hosts. So let's have that conversation. That can definitely
Wow, that's crazy.
Let's get some good stuff going here. Yeah. Because I mean, I've known about Dispenza for a while. I can't say I read any of his stuff in depth before now, but Yona told me a lot about what he had to say. But as you read it, well, 2 things came to my mind as I've been reading it. The first is, my God, the man spends too much time on the clinical detail. He needs to pull back a little bit and turn it into a story. But beside that part, God, the stuff that he has pulled together, the stuff that he has tracked, is really quite impressive. Not just from a scientific point of view, just from a human point of view. He's done a lot of work on this stuff.
What was really interesting is that what you just said about the crunchy numbers bit. At first, I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I get it-ish. And then I went to my first event and I was like, oh, I get it now.
Oh, you really get it.
Yeah. And if you look at the stuff that now, if you compare like early interviews with how he talks now, earlier books with Becoming Supernatural, which is all story, all application.
I've heard, yeah.
It's almost as though, and I can't speak for the man, but it's almost as though the groundwork was done to create the space to be able to say what he'd like to say, because now he's proved it. This many years of demonstrating, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, and this is real. You almost buy yourself license.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It makes sense. Well, I mean, I think any author goes through that process anyway. I mean, you probably went through it, Dan. I know I've gone through it. The first book you write, or the first major piece you write, you're learning how to write. I mean, it's not like you've never written before, but putting a book together is a different beast from writing an article. Because there's a lot more work that goes into it, a lot more thought, a lot of different ways you can trip yourself up, a lot of ways you can kind of get stuck in the mud. And you're trying to learn how to navigate all that. So I think You Are the Placebo was his second book, if I remember right.
I think the first one might be Making Your Mind Matter or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember what the order was, but anyway, it was.
I like that title, Making Your Mind Matter.
Yeah. So, but the point is that, if you've been doing books for a while, now you got it. Now you got it down. And especially with all the workshops he's been doing, that helps you get it down. So, yeah. I'm going to have to read is it Your Supernatural? Is that
Becoming Supernatural.
Becoming Supernatural, right.
Yeah. That's the book that came out a couple of years ago.
Right.
So now the week-long events, like the one I just attended and volunteered at, it's essentially taking you through the content of that book with the teachings and the meditations that go with it.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Very intense. Some days starting at 4 o'clock. And for me, we were volunteering, so we're on the doors. So 3 o'clock in the morning starts.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's dedication.
Very, very, very intense, but very, very transformative. Really, really.
What's this is always an unfair question, but I like to ask it anyway. What's the number one thing you took away from those various workshops that you've been a part of? What's the best?
Always something different. This last one, it wasn't, and I may get into trouble for saying this, but for this last one, it was more about being, getting to be of service. And I was on the door, so I was greeting people in the morning and, dishing out morning hugs. And every day you get there's a bag and you pull out a coin with a random word on it. And we're handing these out every day. So giving these to people and asking what coin they got. And, that was the highlight for me.
Really?
This particular one. Yeah. This particular one, the highlight was getting to give everyone their morning hugs and saying good morning to everyone and seeing everyone there and watching their energy change.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because this particular one, 90% of the attendees were new to the work. They've never been to an event before.
Cool.
Whereas ordinarily there's a very high, the ones that I've been to, is a very high percentage of returning people.
Really? That's interesting.
But it was 90% new people. So you've got 1,200 people that don't know what they're in for.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And just watching those shifts happen, beginning of the week, like, what's going on here? Like, who are these weird, happy people? By the end of the week, it's like, I love you so much. And the oxytocin levels are really high and everyone's hugging each other. So that for me was the biggest one from this one.
It sounds like this one was for you a big human contact experience as much as it was learning this stuff.
Definitely. For the first few years I was in this work, I was in another relationship, and there was boundaries from her not really understanding the community aspect of things and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really fully in. I was kind of like, okay, I'm here, but I'm thinking about stuff. I wasn't just able to just show up and be present. The first one that I went to after that relationship ended was very, very different because my energy was a lot more open and free. I didn't have to report back to check into someone. She came around to one before and came, but she wasn't on the event. She was just staying in the hotel. Every time I came out on a break, she was waiting at the door. So there was that whole thing about the environment. There was no environmental break. So this one was interesting, but more importantly for me, what really, really, really was my love it thing about this was being on the doors every day. That was just really, really lovely.
It is a satisfying thing. It's the one thing that I kind of wish a podcast would have, because you don't really see your audience, so you don't get to see how the show impacts people. But when you're in a place like that where you can see it, and from what you're describing, I'm inferring that not only are you seeing it, but you're seeing stuff that happens in a big way. You're seeing big change. You're seeing massive shifts in perceptions and in energy and enthusiasm and so forth. I agree with you. There's nothing better than that. Yeah. I don't care what we're talking about. I don't care what the subject is. There's nothing better than just seeing people do huge growth and come out so much better at the other end.
Yeah. Loved it.
That's good stuff. So, well, that's what I did on my winter vacation. Alyx has been holding down the fort, waiting for us actually to report back on our, PJ and I, to report back on our takes of the third episode of the play, which I still haven't gotten to. I promised I would do it, and I will get it done. But
okay.
my little buddy here he's acting like he wants something. I'm not sure what. I think he wants to go out, so I may have to just take a quick break and let you guys chat among yourselves for a moment.
Cats are demanding.
They are. Well, especially this one. He knows exactly what he wants. He just doesn't do a good job of telling me. But, I wanted to ask you though, Alyx. You're the one who usually comes up with topics, and when we've been kind of generally talking about Joe Dispenza and Florida vacations and so forth. But did you have a topic in mind for today? Did you have anything?
I did not. I'm still on vacation.
You're on vacation, so you're on winter vacation. Okay.
When y'all take a vacation, I take a vacation.
You take one too. Okay. Well, that's reasonable. That's fair.
Mine was a staycation, but I'm still relaxed.
Okay. No, that's fair. Well, lacking a previously created topic, then I think I just kind of like to carry on what we were talking about Dispenza's work, because I think it's really, really important work. It so much of what we talk about on this show and other law of attraction podcasts talk about as well is the theoretical. It's here's how resistance works, and here's how you meditate, and here's how you do your affirmations and all that kind of stuff. Dispenza is doing the scientific side of it. And while I'm sure he gets a lot of pushback in the scientific community, I also am sure that there are many in the scientific community who are saying, well, we got to pay a little attention to this. And some are paying a lot of attention to it. One of the things I want to bring up that actually ties in to this, that comes from my vacation, is I got to see my cousin Becky, who I hadn't seen in a long, long time. Becky is fabulous. She's married to a guy named Ray, who is has a PhD in chemistry. He was a research chemist throughout his career. And in my conversation with Ray, he made a really interesting point. He pointed out that science is not about proof, which is not what you hear every day. But he's absolutely correct. Science is about gathering facts. It's about doing research, finding out what the universe has to show you that you can measure and that you can develop data about. And then any kind of conclusions you draw about that, that's really philosophy. There really is no such thing as proof. Is for maths. Yep,
facts.
You do a math problem, and then you have a proof to show that the math was done correctly. That's what proofs are all about. And I thought about what he said, and he's absolutely right. We have a tendency, and I think scientists have this tendency too, to want to prove things scientifically. But you really can't, because science isn't about proof. So if it's not about proof, if it's about fact gathering, then Joe Dispenza is doing some tremendous fact gathering. Scientists may disagree about what his stuff proves, and now I think we can pretty much throw that whole argument out the window. But there's absolutely no doubt he is producing a tremendous ream of data about what happens when you apply the basic ideas that he talks about in his books in reality. And Dan, you see that? How many of these workshops have you been to?
I think about 6. I think
6 of them. Yeah. So you've seen a lot of that.
I've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Seen some things, man.
I've seen some things.
You've seen some things.
All you'd have to do is just go on. I think there's a YouTube channel and just check some of those testimonials. And some of them, no disrespect to people, but some of them it's like, oh, I'm happy in my heart now, which is great.
That's
cool.
Fabulous.
But when you're talking about, oh yeah, by the way, I've had eczema my entire life and now I don't, and it happened in an instant, which is another one of my friends. Or oh yeah, I had cancer and then it's gone. I had a vision come to me of sitting in my doctor's office and getting the all clear for cancer, and I'm sitting in my doctor's office getting the all clear for cancer, watching the vision that I had. I was blind. Oh, now I can see. Oh, by the way, I can hear you now. I've not been able to do that. I've had tinnitus or whatever it is for the last 11 years. And now, all sorts of crazy stuff. So anyway.
Now, I also gather, I haven't finished the You Are the Placebo book. I'm about 2/3 of the way through, but it looks pretty clearly like he's going to go deeply into how to meditate and how to do it effectively. And
yeah, you get that. But this was really interesting. So when I first read You Are the Placebo, which was the first book that I read, I wasn't really interested in the meditation per se. I was like...
That's why I didn't read it the first time, to be honest. Because I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't need another book of meditation, please.
Yeah. I was like, so this is really great application to take my mindset work deeper. And there's some validation of stuff I've been doing for the last decade or so. This is going to be really cool. I'm going to make so much money with this. And then went to the workshop. I'm like, I don't care about money. I just want to meditate. This thing that just happened for the last 2 days, I'd like to repeat this all of yes, please. Because like I bought the meditation and I was like just lying down and doing it, or like falling asleep, and I wasn't actually showing up to do it as a work. It was just a thing I was doing. Yeah, but when you experience, and I think now that there's the progressive workshop that he does is now available online, and it's really inexpensive. It's like a couple of $100 or $100 or something like that. And you get like 9 sessions plus meditations of him taking you through what the things are. So the experience that I had over that weekend, now you can do as a home study course and really get the application of it, which I think is really, really, really great. Especially now it's near impossible to get to an event because they sell out in like as little as 4 minutes, they sell out.
It's crazy. So, yeah.
Yes.
But what's different about his approach? I mean, like I said, I haven't really gotten into what he says about meditation in depth, but there are a lot of people who teach meditation. Dan, we both know that. I mean, there's just a lot of teachers out there, but you don't hear these kinds of stories like you get with Dispenza. So there's something he's doing different. What's he doing different?
I can only speak to my personal experience. I can't obviously, I'm not trained to teach his work. I'm a consumer. I've had some experience with it, but I'm a consumer. But
well, you got more experience with it than I do, so I figured.
I'm just being clear for the listeners in the audience. I'm speaking purely as a consumer, not as someone that's affiliated with the company or been trained or whatever.
Right.
From that perspective, having done lots of different types of work over the last 20 years, it feels very much like a hypnotic journey that takes you into really just connecting to something bigger and greater than yourself and coming back different. Now, not everybody does that with intention, but some of the meditations are specifically around intentional things like changing a belief system or connecting to a new potential. Me personally, I overlay it with my own work, and I'm very specific in setting the intentions about what I want to experience, then stepping into a space of infinite possibility on these journeys that Dr. Joe takes you on, and setting the intention of coming back with that infinite possibility being a part of my experience. Almost like recognizing that moment to moment, we're moving through different timelines based on what we expect to come next, and allowing yourself to go on a journey that goes into a realm where what comes next doesn't have to be so predictable. You can tap into infinite possibilities and come back to a completely different timeline where your illness is gone, where your abundance is there, where your energy levels are up, where your relationships are healed. And that's my personal experience, again, speaking for myself as a consumer.
But that's insane.
That's the perfect word. That is the perfect word. And I don't mean disrespectfully or anything, but it's just what you described. It sounds great metaphorically, but you didn't sound like you did anything different. It's just, well, we went to this other universe and we experienced this. I was like, what are you talking about?
I think what would be really great. Like I said, I'm really good friends with a number of his corporate trainers and team leaders who are trained to teach his work. Put a pin in some of these questions, and I'd love to have people that were trained.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Give you the inside out. Like I said, speaking from my own experience, I mean, the first time I was introduced to meditation, which was, like I said, best part of 20 years ago when I was doing some other work, I was like, yeah, meditation, great. Okay. And then coming here, I think for me personally, the guidance that you go on, the guidance that you're given to go on these journeys, essentially, has given me the ability. Now I can go and silently meditate. I do silent meditation for an hour, whatever. I can do that because now I have almost a blueprint of what I'm moving towards. So the guidance is really just to help you get somewhere else. There was some beautiful things going on, and he explains it really, 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 really well. He's demonstrated it and shows the science behind the different levels of it. Blah, blah. But being able to go somewhere that's really here, that isn't really anywhere, and come back from that space of infinite possibilities, overlaying into your reality something new, is what I take away, is what I experience in that work.
I am intrigued because, I mean, I've always thought of meditation just as a way to relax, a way to release stresses and so forth. And this is very clearly talking way beyond that.
Yeah, this is like 100 levels higher.
Yeah, it's, and this is, I mean, I've had people in the past, including the relationship with my ex, because she didn't really get this work. So she was doing some other meditation stuff. She's like, I meditate. Why can't you talk to me about this stuff? I'm like, babe, you don't get it. It's not that YouTube video that you just watched with whale songs. It's really, it's not that. Although, you know, when you know what you're doing, you can use that whale song to get you
to nothing wrong with whale songs.
But what we're talking about here is it's a different kettle of fish.
What's really interesting to me what's interesting to me, Dan, is that you are a very well-spoken person and you're having trouble putting it into words. There's that tells me this is a really, really cool thing, but it's so hard to express what it is.
Yeah, it's not when you get to see some of the things that you get to see, and remember, one of the things I love about his work, and it's one of the reasons why you don't really hear me, you know, putting up, and I've had a lot of teachers, you won't hear me really putting a lot of them up, because he doesn't say, oh, my way's the only way, and you know, you have to do this, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is what you can do, this is what you have the power to do. You are supernatural, right? This is inherently within every one of you, and here's a way to unlock that supernatural potential for yourself. Now just go and do it whichever way gets you there, but here's a model for you to follow to get there. And that's why I'm like, all right, I can work with you, Mr. Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I've met him a few times, and he's a really, really cool cat. Like, he's just really, really down to earth, really cool, loving person. Yeah, he's just a really, really cool cat. Really, really cool. I've done tequila shots with him. I mean, there's not many
nice
that you get to do tequila shots with. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I am looking forward to learning more about it, and I love it if you could bring in some of his trainers to talk to us.
We'll have a word on that. I've a couple really, really come to mind that will be especially, like, I know one is a podcaster already. One that comes to mind. She's a podcaster, and she's really, really dope. I think you'll love her.
Good.
So I will specifically shoot her a message first, and she might have some more that she can recommend to you. But I know that she is a podcaster, so she'll get the, you know, you wouldn't have to school on the podcasting element.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. Because this is actually the first time with meditation, the concept of meditation, that I've entertained the idea I could actually attain some stuff that I have wanted to attain. Like, for instance, I don't know if you knew this, Daniel, I'm what they call aphantasic, meaning it's really, really difficult for me to create images in my mind.
Got it.
Literally. I mean, the best if I'm lucky, I can get a color. That's about it. You know, most of the time I don't get that much. You know, so I'm thinking, well, what if meditation could help open that up for me?
It could do.
You know, that would be really cool.
It's just a quantum potential.
Yeah.
And this is one of the really, really cool things. So like when I talk about the flow funnel, for example, I'm talking about, you know, the energy's got to be aligned, the mindset's got to be aligned, and then you've got to show up in your life in accordance with it. There's infinite potentials at every single level of those. It's just that once we get to physical matter, because things are moving so slowly, that infinite potential gets a little bit more tricky to access. But when you're beyond that, then you've got access to infinite potentials in our emotional state, in our energy space, our vibration, and also in our belief systems and in our mind. And this work allows you to tap that unlimited potential in that inner world.
That's exciting.
And then create access to outcomes in your life. Don't get me wrong. I know people that do this work, they just do the meditations. They don't actually do anything to change the choices that they make, and they don't do anything to change their life. And so the results will be taking longer for them to get. But the people that I know are showing up and doing that work, getting their frequency set with it, accessing that infinite potential, choosing the elevated emotions that are aligned with it, choosing to make choices that are aligned with that new way of being, and showing up in the life from a space of love, and they're getting results.
And I figure if people are able to cure cancer, rid themselves of eczema, you know, heart troubles, whatever, they're able to cure all that stuff using this meditative approach, and that it's not just an occasional thing. This is like a lot of people are able to do this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I'm starting to imagine various things I could do with myself, with my own body, that I've been working out for the longest time with only minimal results. And that's cool. That's really cool. Not to mention the other areas of my life, you know, because what are the big three? It's relationships, health, and money. Those are the three that people are mostly interested in. And I suspect this would probably impact all of them. But it probably, if it really is the real deal, and I think it probably is from what you're describing, it probably goes even much farther than that. We're talking about basically truly creating what Abraham Hicks has been promising us for years, which is we can have the completely abundant life right now. This is teaching us how to get there in a big, big way, just by doing this technique. It sounds like it anyway. Maybe I'm projecting too far.
I would say, again, speaking from my own personal experience, look, it comes down to the truth just is, right? We're on the same page with that. Truth just is.
That's
infinite
true.
Potential is truth. Infinite possibilities is a truth. What this work allows you to do is to step beyond this realm of being where those infinite possibilities are lost and reconnect with those, and actually come back with that reconnection as being what we experience. So yes, what we've been promised about being in our vortex. I mean, if you look, vortex is a full right now of people who are just making choices unaligned with it. So they're just filling up the vortex and refusing. I mean, I taught a retreat this weekend here in Cabo. And that's one of the things we're talking about, the stories that keep our vortex plugged, right? When if we just change the filter, then those things in the vortex can start popping out. And sometimes the changing of that filter requires, or would be served by, making those shifts internally. And this work can create that shift.
And what I love about Dispenza is he doesn't hold back on recognizing and, in fact, emphasizing in a big way, at least in the book I'm reading right now, You Are the Placebo, that this isn't easy. This isn't an easy shift to make. I mean, there's a lot of resistance built up, as Abraham would call it. He terms it more in terms of the way that neurosciences would describe it. It's just hard to do things. It's hard to change patterns in thought process and so forth. But he gets it. He not only gets it, he advocates, yes, that part can be really, really hard. But he also keeps hinting at, but you can get there, and we're going to show you how to get there.
Right.
That's a level of realism you don't get with a lot of the teachers.
Yeah, a friend of mine uses the framework of discipline, dedication, and time.
Hashtag.
Always count on you, Alyx, to get the right hashtags. You're good at it.
Right?
Make like doing the work. I mean, another friend of mine who did his work, you know, it was really interesting. For a long time, her symptoms got worse. Like stuff got worse for a long time, but she just kept doing the work. You know, she was doing, you know, a couple of his meditations a day, one called Blessing of the Energy Centers, and I don't remember the other one that she was doing, which was just doing that every day. And now not only is she in full health, she's experiencing massive amounts of abundance. She's in a loving relationship. Everything has shifted, but it took her consistent. And her testimonials is in becoming supernatural.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's in there. They're under pseudonyms, but she's one of the stories, the case studies that are in there.
Okay.
That are in the book. But yeah, just consistently showing up and doing the work.
And that's going to be true no matter who you're following or what teaching you're tapping into, because it's so easy to give up on doing that work. Let's be honest, especially when you're getting the results like your friend was getting, right? Where it's getting worse. It's not getting better. Like, this stuff doesn't work. You know? That's when that's when the rubber meets the road, and you really show yourself whether or not you're committed to change, despite the fact that you're not seeing what you're hoping to see.
Yeah, the river and change. The river and change can be an interesting one. So something came up even for me this weekend, me personally, something that I've been working on for a while, and I'm probably going to do a Facebook Live about this today. And it's when we get ourselves so caught up in the journey that we get addicted to being in the journey and never actually make it out of the river of change.
Yeah.
You know, the addiction to being who we are becomes so deeply entrenched that even in the face of doing work to elicit change, we end up just staying the same.
Yeah, I totally feel that right now.
Why is that?
I feel like, in the sense of how most of our listeners know how I'm very stationary and complacent.
Yes.
But
you have this pattern thing down pat, I would say.
Sure do. But in the same sense, it's like there's things that I have to go out to do, but it's like I don't give myself the credit of having done them, and I'm still like, no, I have agoraphobia. That didn't count.
Yeah, it's easy not to pat ourselves on the back for what we get right.
Yeah, and my therapist yells at me all the time. She's like, "But you did it, and you didn't die, so." Clap for once, it'll be okay.
So what do you conclude from all that? What's the takeaway?
I just can't wrap my brain around it. I'm like, yeah, I did it, but I had to. I didn't want to. Like that's the fight I'm having now. I want to be able to want to go out. Right. But my brain doesn't get that part.
Because
like, but I did it and I didn't die.
Dedication and time. Discipline, dedication, and time. The neural pathways that are in place right now that are playing out the pattern of not wanting to aren't going to shift until you show the mind that it's safe to make that change.
Right.
And that leverage will imprint new neural pathways, which over time will create new behavioral patterns. And then that feeling that you have, which is just chemicals and hormones being produced in the body in response to those existing neural pathways, will change. The emotional state will be different, and then you'll have the different experience, but it's not going to happen unless you're witnessing it.
Yeah. I got to get out of my own head. That's what it is.
Definitely.
Because I'm not in the moment. I'm just like, I'm worried about like, okay, this is great right now, but when I get home, the panic starts, and then it's like I'm already 2 steps ahead in the negative, as opposed to going, you know what, maybe when I get home, I won't panic about it.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I think, is a book with associative meditation that will probably support what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Check out Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
I think that's the one that came before You Are the Placebo.
I think that is the one. Yeah. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
And by the way, that also contains a phrase that still, I actually have a little trouble with it. I'm curious to see how he develops that over time, as I'll read future stuff. But he talks about yourself, your ego, as literally being the equivalent of your body, which is the equivalent of your subconscious mind. In other words, our identity is in our body, is the way he's describing it. And I don't really feel like my identity is in my body, so that kind of creates a conflict in my mind.
Again, I'm not qualified to speak on it in detail, but I would say this: that from memory of lectures and stuff I've been on, we've got to remember that all of our thoughts end up being reflected in our body because we have memories stored in the body. And
that much I buy into. That I can definitely buy into that part.
Right, so if we take a step further, then our personality, which is when our subconscious mind is running, is playing against the blueprint of those memories, and those memories are stored in the body. So if the memories are in the body, then the personality is also in the body, because the thing that's creating the personality, our personal reality, is those memories. They're also in the body too.
Okay, but isn't it true that who I am is also not necessarily part of the body, that who I am is just me? You're talking
about your soul, your true essence, right?
Yes, my true essence.
But we're talking about your true essence doesn't involve is more than your personality. We're not talking about the memories there. It's like when Paul Selig, the guides that are channeled through Paul Selig, talk about the small self and the true self. So the small self, we could say, are those the personality traits, the memories, and so on and so forth. The true self is the soul, the essence, the eternal part of us. It's not there in the body. In truth, it's the unified source that we're all connected to and all a part of. The personality is the expression of that through the lens of our experiences and our memories and so on and so forth that we experience as a personality. And that is also imprinted in the body.
I guess what I'm saying is, yes, we describe them as being different, but to me, they're all so interconnected that it's not accurate to say that one is divorced from the other. To me, they're all part of the same continuum.
We could say, ice and water, they are the same continuum, but they're in different environments, they're operating in different ways. So at different level of density, our experience of it is going to be different. So when water's at the density of ice, we experience it very differently to when it's in the density of steam.
Facts.
One's great for a cocktail and one's great for a coffee. So it doesn't change the fact that it's still H2O, but it is experienced at a different density in a different way.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That I can actually buy into better, because he also talks about how you have to let go of who you are. What he's really talking about is letting go of that subconscious that's buried in your body, and I can understand that, sure. I just want to make sure I also am in tune with what he's saying when I think to myself, well, I am that bigger self. That's who I feel like I really am.
Yeah, but the connection, even the connection to that bigger self here in three-dimensional reality, is limited by the self. The lens through which we see is who we are in the moment, right? And who we are at the moment is accumulation of the memories of what we've been up to this time. And that shows up as our personality. So we need to let go of that if we want to go and create something else. And to some extent, I would say from my personal experience, letting go here and now of those stories that make up the illusion of who I am in the moment is what allows you to access that trueness, that true self in that true realm of infinite possibilities, and then create unlimited outcomes.
Okay. I can't say I'm totally satisfied in my own mind, but your explanation makes a lot of sense.
I wouldn't say that I have the not even the skill, but the authority really to speak on it more fully. And I think his work will, as you keep going through the books, it will help you to understand a bit more. But then, like I said, I'm definitely going to hook you up with a couple of really cool cats and kittens who can more fully, because they're trained to deal with such questions.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, I imagine
purely from his work versus
if you've gone through his training, which I'm sure he has a direct hand in how they get trained and what they're doing. You're getting the best training.
He does it personally. He does it personally. He personally trains them.
So yeah, you're probably getting that's like being directly connected to the juice at that point.
Exactly.
That's pretty good stuff. So yeah, all right. Well, I'm definitely going to continue for sure. And like I said earlier, I'm talking to my sister-in-law about just like doing book reviews, I guess, kind of like the way we've done it with the other books that we've explored. We've done the Abraham Hicks books. We actually went back and did Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Cindy Chavez and I have been doing all the Neville books, the Neville Goddard books, and it's a fun thing to do, to just go through and you read it and you say, okay, so what are you getting out of this? Well, here's what I'm getting out of this, And
I've got this book that I heard of once that I know I'd like to throw it in the mix. I don't know if
sure.
Called Stepping Beyond Intention. I don't know if it's
yeah. Well, we can do Daniel. We'll even bring the author on. I mean,
I don't know if it's across your threshold at any time, but I've heard
hey, if you remember when you first came on the show, I was kind of trying to push you on that when you were kind of sharing little tidbits of it, but you weren't really getting into it. So I kind of pulled back. But I'm happy to do the book. Let's do the book. Let's just go through it chapter by chapter, line by line. I think it'd be great.
Sure thing.
Yeah. And the best part is I wouldn't be violating a copyright. So,
Love it.
I think we should do that. In fact, I will put it out here right now. Let's start doing your book next week with next Tuesday's show. All right.
Done.
Okay.
Agreed.
So I've got the PDF copy. We'll start doing it, and I'll actually have to get a copy of it too, so you can see what we're talking about, and be as intelligent as ever about what we're talking about. And then Daniel, you can school us on how to step beyond that intention, that mean old intention.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's really interesting because this weekend. So this weekend's workshop, the coaching weekend, I was really playing at the new edge of my work as it is right now, which is lucid living. So it was really interesting to see the evolution that beyond intention is about choosing your intentions. Alchemic life creation is about choosing your vibration. And then lucid living is about choosing the stories that filter what we experience. So it'd be really cool to go back to some foundationary stuff again, but come back to that through the lens of where the work is now. So there'll be an interesting take on the book.
So this is going to be a challenge for me personally, because I like to be on top of it as I'm talking with somebody about a book. And this time I'm going to be talking with the author. So I have to actually know something in detail, in real detail about what you're saying. So I have to be working on this book. I have to work on Joe Dispenza's book, and I have to work on my project. And I have to
why don't we do this? Why don't we let you finish Dr. Joe's book and then do it afterwards?
No. We got to do it this way, because otherwise I'll just put it off.
Oh, I got you.
He will. Yeah. He will.
She's right. She knows me well enough to know that.
To do a month ago. Yeah.
Well, she's also the queen of setting deadlines, so
facts. I can't function without deadlines.
That's right. No. I mean, there's no adverse consequences if I don't hit it, but it kind of sharpens the mind when you say, "Okay, I'm going to get this done."
Yeah.
And it's not like we have to read the entire book, because we're probably going to spend the entire show next week on the first half of the first chapter or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, it's not like it's a huge homework assignment. I can handle it. Heck, when I was in college, I was reading 200 to 300 pages per course per night. I think I can handle 20 pages. It's not going to be difficult.
That's a lot of reading.
What's that?
That's a lot of reading.
Yeah, it is.
No kidding. Well, I was a political science major, so you read a lot of crap. You know.
Okay.
And I do mean crap. It was really awful.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out why I was a political science major. I mean,
It was preparing
the only
you
thing that
for
I can
2020. That's what it was doing.
It was also answering a number of questions that I had at the time in very dysfunctional ways, and ultimately did give me a very valuable piece of information, which is that politics is useless.
I mean, I could have told you that, and I know nothing about politics. But that's why. It's useless.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Politics isn't actually useless. What it is unproductive toward anything that I value. It's very productive toward people, toward the values of people who are fearful and scarcity driven, and basically just want to be anxious about everything without having been diagnosed with anxiety. I mean, these people you were diagnosed with anxiety. They go out of their way to take it on.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just like, I have enough in my life. I'm gonna leave that over there.
I need it. Bring it here.
I think we've opened a monster here. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure there were things that I have gotten out of that experience that were worthwhile. But looking back, I kind of wish I'd picked something else. Just saying. Anyway.
But then you wouldn't be the Walt of today.
I guess I wouldn't. No, that's true.
Exactly.
That's part of who I am.
Change your past. You'd be a whole new Walt.
And there are a lot of things that's really a very good point. There are a lot of things that I've done in my life when I was doing them and dealing with them. I was saying, why am I dealing with this nonsense? But you know what? It all added up.
Yeah.
In the long run, it all added up to not just who I am today, but where my skills are. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it weren't for a lot of that crazy crap I went through. That's just simple fact. If everything had gone well, I'd be just going off and doing the stuff that went well. I wouldn't be doing a podcast.
That's funny.
Isn't it true though? I mean, the things. This is something that my sister-in-law was talking about. She, by the way, Alyx, Ioana and Joel are going to get along great. In fact, I've referred Ioana to him because she's writing a book about struggle, which of course is Joel's métier, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
to
anyway,
be a fly on the wall. Oh my God.
No kidding. They're going to have one heck of a conversation.
Yeah.
But in the conversation I was having with her over the past week, one of the things that we were focused on was people who go through craziness, who go through tough times, really, really tough times, and come out of it flying at the end. And it is, I mean, that's almost a better track record than a Joe Dispenza workshop in terms of the results that come out of it. And I don't mean to disparage Joe Dispenza. I'm just saying it's almost 100%. If you're going to go through something really bad, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to come springing out of it with some amazing, fabulous stuff, or you're going to die. It's going to be one of the two. There's not really a lot of in between. You know, that's just the way it works. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, now the stuff that I went through is nothing compared to what other people have gone through. I mean, that's
true for everybody.
Well, it is true for everybody. Yeah. But from my perspective, it's especially true because I mean, I hear stories about people who are, deathly addicted to drugs or alcohol or gambling or whatever, or went to prison or went through, their brother was killed and all this other kind of stuff. I've never had any of that kind of stuff go on.
Right.
My life was tame compared to all that.
Yeah.
But it sure wasn't fun.
Right. I mean, it's all in who's looking at it, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So.
And yet, as I look back, I realize it all pieced together. So, yeah.
Yeah.
In that sense, Dan, I totally buy into the idea that my experience, my programming, my subconscious mind in my body is who I am. In that sense, that's true. I do agree with that part. Yeah.
It's like the butterfly effect. If you didn't take that train that day, you never would have met the three of us. Two of us. Sorry, there's three of us.
Well, you actually, with your headphones, there's actually more than one of you. Yeah.
Was he talking about? Were you talking about the cat? Like what?
Yeah.
The cat's like, yeah, thanks.
All of us.
Like, yeah, you better include me because I'm here too. This dog lover.
I can tell that our hour is almost up because we're going completely off the rails here. So.
Oh yeah.
But this is a good thing. So let's try to tie it together a little more professionally because we're all professionals here, right? Yeah, sure.
Serious people doing serious things.
I know, man. Cut it out, Dan. Gosh.
So Daniel,
yes,
let's give people a chance to find out how they reach out to Daniel Mangano, because they're going to want to do that, especially when they start listening to our beginning summary of stepping into your beyond intention starting next week.
Join my Facebook group, Dream with Dan. So you can go to facebook.com/groups/Dream with Dan. No, scrap that. dreamwithdan.com/Facebook. So dreamwithdan.com/Facebook will take you to the Facebook group. I do masterclasses in there. We're doing one now on lucid living. There's clips from my retreat this week, and they're going to be going in there as exclusive content too.
That's great.
Really groovy. So there's a lot of groovy stuff in there. And that's probably the most effective place to connect with me, to connect with the people in the community I'm building, or dreamers, and get the opportunity to apply some of the stuff that they're going to learn back in the book.
And you do put out a lot of very cool content. I mean, it seems like now, like you pointed out very diplomatically at the top of the show, I don't get onto Facebook very often. But on those occasions where I have been there, it seems like you're always live. So I know you do a lot of content.
I get notifications in the middle of the day. I'm like, oh, random.
Perfect timing.
So I guess my point is it's well worth it for listeners to check out dreamwithdan.com/Facebook, because there's a lot of content there. There has to be, considering how many times I see you there. Either that or else you're just replaying the same thing over and over again. I mean, I don't really know, but
in the world of infinite possibilities, who knows which one?
That's true, yes. In another universe, you probably are.
Exactly. Touche.
And Alyx, the queen of the spoilers, you did a very adroit job of not spoiling Harry Potter. I have to give you credit, because you were probably bursting at the seams wanting to do that.
I still am, considering the book came out probably about 3 years ago. Like, y'all got to get it together.
Is there like
statute of limitations on spoilers?
Yeah, that's the one. You got it. Yeah. Is there?
In my Facebook group, there is, like, if it's within the season that we're currently on, you shouldn't spoil it. However, if it's a past season, you're allowed to spoil it, and it's everybody else's fault if they're not caught up.
So you were actually showing tremendous self-restraint, because this is a 3-year-old thing, and you were still, not spoiling.
Right.
So with that testimonial out of the way, showing just what level of integrity you really have, what spoilers do you have for us?
Well, it's been a good week, because most of our show, I think all of our shows are back in season now. Everybody's back from their winter hiatus, so a lot of cool things are happening. Again, season 15, the final season of Supernatural, is ending. For me, it's a little slow right now, because I'm like, guys, this is the last season. Like, what is happening? We got to get it in.
Oh my gosh, I've waited. I want them to finish it so I can watch it back to back and binge it. I don't want to wait for the next week.
Definitely binge it. We'll start now, because by the time you're ready, it'll be done.
Okay, I may actually just forget about all the tasks that I actually had to do today.
If I can steer one person a day towards Supernatural, my job is done.
I mean, the end of season 14 with the thing with Jack, and then the death was there, and then the other thing was there, and then Chuck was like, Chuck? Really?
Right?
Bro?
Facts. I was like, really? This is what you're doing?
I don't know where this is going to go. I really don't know where it's going to.
I mean, I've had a little glimpse into the future. I'm very excited at what's happening. I have a theory, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Can you text me your theory, please? Please text me your theory.
I will send you a video on Instagram of my theory.
Please do this.
Okay.
And by the way, we do want to clarify, this is not the same kind of Supernatural as we were talking about before with Dr. Joe Dispenza's You Are Supernatural. They really don't connect at all.
No. One is about connecting to the beauty of the divine, and one is about kicking butt of demons and vampires.
Actual factuals.
Although I suppose if your mission in life is to actively go out and kick the butt of demons and factuals, then perhaps it actually would apply. But other than that,
check out Dr. Joe's work.
Everything connects one way or another.
Well, I'll just leave you with this thought, and this is again out of Dr. Joe Dispenza's writings. We all have, in the most densest parts of our brains, anywhere from 100 to 300,000 connections per neuron.
Damn.
I mean, we've got some really busy neurons going on inside our heads.
Oh, I already knew that up here. It's crazy in here.
And the more we think about it, and the more that we talk about it, and the more that we explore, especially outside, the more the neurons are firing, especially outside of our comfort zones, especially outside of our daily patterns. The more stuff that goes outside of it, the bigger it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty darn supernatural. So, I mean, I'm not crazy myself personally about going after vampires, but, you know, for those who are interested in it, hey, I have to admit, you guys are building neurons that I don't even think about.
Season 1 will get you.
And it all counts. It all counts because you're enjoying it.
Exactly.
Because that's really the most important thing anyway.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Daniel, I'm looking forward next week to talking about your book in detail.
Also looking forward to sharing about it.
You're going to have to get your professorial hat on so that we know that you are the man in charge.
I will just let you be the man in charge and be here to do some.
I was going to mail you a fedora, but if you want it, that's fine.
Oh, I'll have a fedora.
No. Oh, okay. All right.
Can I have a unicorn fedora?
I'm going to see what I can do. I don't know how it'll travel, but I'll see what I can do.
See, that's the beauty of having a professorial hat, because the professor gets to decide what the hat is.
Facts.
Uh-oh, the eyebrows are going up and down. He's really excited now.
They're deliberately doing it silently so that people on YouTube can get to enjoy this.
Exactly.
Speaking of which,
this is why you need to be on YouTube.
So go tell people how to do that, and I'll tell people about the podcast, and we'll be done.
Well, for those of you who are listening, you need to go to YouTube, search LOA Today podcast videos, and while you're there, see our smiling faces. Click down below on the red subscribe button. Next to the red subscribe button, there's a silver bell. Click that silver bell and make sure you click all so you will always be notified when we are live.
And while Dan is signing this for the deaf, I also want to remind you to become a subscriber to LOA Today's podcast. Very simple to do. Go to loatoday.net website, and at the top of the page, you will see all the instructions on exactly how to do it. It takes about 2 clicks. Dan did it in 1. If he did it in 1, you can do it in 1. And once there, you got all of them coming right to your device every single time that we publish them, and that's the way to do it. So
that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. It's very simple.
And be sure to follow the Instagram account, because we need people to follow the Instagram account. I need to speak to you about that Instagram. Like,
you can have it because I don't pay attention.
You have to understand, Daniel, the Instagram has been handed along from person to person to person, and nobody's doing it.
I'm the only one who didn't volunteer, because I was like, no, I have too many of the other Instagram accounts for everything else.
No, do you know what I'm going to do? We'll have a chat. What I'll do, I'm literally just making some changes to my social media team. I'll wrap it in and let them promote it and let people know what we're doing here via Instagram.
Love it. Love it. I am a total fan. If I wasn't a fan before, and I am a total fan now. So with that happy thought in mind, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Alyx. And we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Say the words properly, Walt. Goodbye, everybody.